Greetings, dear friends. I want to show you how we improved our homestead from start to finish over 4 years of living in the village. As you remember, we bought a very old house in very bad condition, but we didn't really have a choice. We really wanted to live in the village. We immediately moved into this little house and started living in it, and right away we began to renovate it. Plus, we had a big dream to create our own large farm where we could keep horses and get other animals. And let's take a look in this video at what we've accomplished, how we've improved our daily life, how we renovated the old house, how we built the farm, and everything related to that over the past 4 years. Let's go. Before creating good conditions for ourselves, we first took care of our animals and started building a paddock for the horses. Yes, we already had 4 horses that we moved with from the city. We built the paddock quite quickly. We built it from what we had on the property. We found long poles left by the previous owners. Some things were taken apart. In general, the paddock was ready from what we found. The paddock was built, we brought the horses in, and we also made a small house out of the old shed. When the horses finally had a roof over their heads, we started thinking that it was time to make conditions for ourselves too. Because the house was in very bad condition, it was damp, and we were living in that damp house. And now we're starting to renovate the house. Our renovation began with the ceiling. I regret we didn't film the entire process, just parts of it. However, some footage remains. The ceiling in the house was in very bad condition. The logs that supported the ceiling had already rotted, and the ceiling was about to collapse at any moment. I had to completely take it apart and throw it away, but taking it apart was a hellish job, which unfortunately I also didn't film, because there were 20 centimeters of soil on the ceiling, which had to be thrown out through a small window. The soil served as insulation, and there were 50 square meters of it. The ceiling was fully dismantled. I removed all rotten parts, and the new structure appeared quickly. I have no experience in construction or repairs at all, and I just made up the ceiling structure myself. I remembered office ceilings all suspended on rods. Why not use a similar design in the house, since the house was 6.5 by 7 meters? Installing the joist would have required supports. In this house, there were 2 long, thick logs that rested on the log frame. I thought, why not hang the ceiling from these logs? I drilled a hole, put studs and joists into these logs, and secured them with lag screws. And that's how I simply made the ceiling structure. I installed paneling onto these joists, put in vapor barrier, added insulation, and our ceiling was ready. Once the ceiling was done, we started on the walls. The walls were filled with a cement sand mix, topped with nailed plywood, then wallpapered. All layers were removed. And I started cleaning the logs from glue, wallpaper, and that cement sand mixture. I washed the whole log house and started sanding it. After sanding, I treated the log house with a colorless impregnation, and it took on a very beautiful and attractive appearance. By the way, I forgot to mention that before sanding the log house, we installed an iron stove, which still serves us today. After installing the stove, we used it immediately. The house warmed up, the dampness vanished, and it became much more comfortable inside. I messed up a bit and forgot to peel the film off the pipe, which later stuck to the pipe, and it was impossible to remove it properly. Next, I wanted to make the interior look nicer. Ordinary wooden baseboards didn't work for us because there was a wide gap between the log wall and the paneling. We had to cut a 100 by 100 beam and make a wide baseboard like this out of it. After installing these baseboards and taking a look, it seemed to me that they fit pretty well into the interior of our house. After finishing with the ceiling and the stove, I called on myself for help and started digging a trench from our well to the house to lay the water supply. The trench was 25 meters long and up to 2 meters deep in places. I dug it for about 2 weeks, laid the pipe and wires in the trench, lowered the pump into the well, brought the pipe into the house, and voila, we had water in the house. The water was brought into the house, we used it, but we didn't have a proper plumbing system. We didn't have hot water in the house, and for about a year we lived with just cold water. We couldn't stand going outside to use the toilet anymore. We wanted proper plumbing, hot water, a toilet, and a shower. And of course I got to work on that too. We planned to build the bathroom not in the main house, which I showed at the very beginning, but in its extension. This area is about 20 square meters. where I wanted to set aside a corner for the bathroom. The rest would be used for the kitchen. But before starting this, there was still an old veranda attached to this extension, which was pulling the extension down. And of course, I started by dismantling it first. There was a lot of glass on this veranda, which I removed first, and then I carefully started dismantling the whole structure. I dismantled the roof and slate, stacking everything carefully. There were a lot of useful boards there, which were also carefully stacked, and later they were put to use. They were very helpful. It also took me several days to work on the veranda. Dismantling, of course, is not the same as building. Demolition work goes much faster than construction. To continue working on the bathroom, I first had to reinforce the extension because the extension was already old and stood on old little pillars made of bricks. I dug trenches around the perimeter, about 52 feet deep, set up formwork all around, laid rebar and mixed concrete with an enriched sand and gravel mixture. In this mixture, the sand is already in the right proportion. I added cement, mixed it all well, and poured a strong foundation. Then I started carrying blocks, mixed mortar for masonry again, and laid a good wall. In this way, I reinforced the entire base of this building well. We've established the foundation, so the extension will now be strong and reliable. And now it's time for our long-awaited conveniences. Now we can build a bathroom where, without going outside from the house, you can use the toilet and take a shower in warmth. But before installing the toilet, shower cabin and washing machine, we need to dig a pit and make a deep septic tank so that everything drains reliably and is stored somewhere. Of course, I have a lot of experience with earthworks. I dug the septic tank pretty quickly. The depth is 3 meters and the width is about 1.4 meters. Next, I dug a trench, filled it with sand and laid the sewer pipe. Connecting these pipes, of course, is quite an adventure. I tried everything: oil, soapy water. I had to use a different method. I boiled water, heated it to the maximum temperature, and dipped the pipe into this water from both sides. And that way I was able to connect it. Initially, I considered making a temporary pit and getting some rings, but then I figured out that I would actually make the formwork myself, pour it myself, and try to save some money. And now, of course, I think that I shouldn't have done it because I wasted a lot of effort and nerves. Doing all this by hand, carrying buckets, of course, it's all very hard. In general, I made the framework, made the formwork, poured everything, and covered it all up successfully. The greenhouse is still serving us well and continues to work great. Finally, we finished all the outdoor and the hardest work, and now we can move inside the house. I measured the room's size and began building it. We didn't really have much money for finishing back then, so we decided we'd just cover everything with oriented strand board, install it all. And in the future, when we have some extra money, we'll be able to create the interior we want for this room. And now I'm starting to install the sewer pipes and the hot and cold water pipes. I installed the sewer pipes, made the correct slope, and we bought all the necessary materials and equipment. Of course, delivering them to the house was problematic because that day there was just terrible snow. We had to drag them into the house on sleds through the snowdrifts, but it's okay, we handled it well and managed just fine. I cut a few pieces to practice with the soldering iron, realized there was nothing difficult about it, and I got the hang of it very quickly. At first I planned to rent a pipe soldering iron, but then decided to buy one since it's cheap. Drive 50 kilometers, rent it, and return it there after a few days. It costs about 500 rubles for gas, so what's the point of renting? It's easier and better to buy your own and use it for a long time. I quickly soldered the cold water pipes, installed sensors, a pressure relay, a dry run relay, connected all of this to the hydro tank, installed all the necessary filters and shut-off valves, then installed the boiler and assembled the shower cabin. Our shower cabin was a dark color. It's better to get a matte colored shower cabin because water leaves a lot of spots on these black glass panels, so you have to constantly wipe down the shower cabin because of this. I installed the toilet and connected everything to the toilet. Of course, there were a lot of details which I won't talk about in this video. You can watch separate videos to see how I did all of this. Or we press the long-awaited button and the water starts flowing, the hydro tank fills up. Then we turn on the hot water and wait for our boiler to fill up. Once the boiler is full, we turn it on so the red light comes on and the boiler starts heating up. We test the toilet works too. I bring the washing machine up from the basement, set it in place as well, and voila, our bathroom is fully ready for use. Now it can be used perfectly. Now we can use hot water, take hot showers, and be in a warm bathroom. But there comes a time when you need to take care of the warmth in the house. Under the house we have another extra room where there used to be a Russian stove, which I have already dismantled. We need to insulate this floor now. I'll do it from underneath. I talked to the manufacturers of this material and they told me that this kind of insulation is also possible and that the floors won't rot from this insulation. That's why I chose this method and decided to insulate from below. After gluing the first 50mm layer, I start gluing the second layer. I overlap all the materials so there are no cold bridges. All the work was done using regular foam. Now much less cold will get into the house and our floor has become warmer. Now we're taking a little break from our house, finishing up with it and moving on to building our farm. We already have a large number of videos on our channel related to building the farm. There is a complete video where the farm was built from A to Z. Now I just want to show you a small part of this work and the final result, because I think everyone already understands everything about the farm. Now I have a lot of experience digging trenches. I dug the 15 by 8 meter farm foundation myself and ordered 2 trucks, each with 8 cubic meters to pour it. In this case, I also had no experience in construction. They showed me how to lay the blocks, how to hold the level correctly, and then I just went ahead and did it. And my work went on from morning till night. I kept laying blocks, laying, and I finished laying them all. The frame is ready and we keep going. The wood was delivered, so I put up the posts, we built the frame. I called the guys to help make the rafters for the roof. We made the battens and covered it with metal. Inside the farm, I finished work and created sections for the animals. Here we are bringing in the first goats and now finally our horses are coming in. Hallelujah, the farm is ready. I was able to handle and build such a wonderful farm almost by myself. Next, in front of the farm, our old chicken coop where our chickens used to live is in the way. I decided to take it apart and move it to another place. I sorted the logs, made something like a block foundation in this chicken coop and put these logs on this block foundation. I assembled everything, moved the roof, put the roof together, buried the posts around and put up a new mesh. Lera and I made a net to protect from predatory birds, let the chickens in, and voila, the chicken coop is ready. We did a good job. Next, we move on to the gazebo. The gazebo was also shown a lot. I don't want to focus on it because it was built quite recently. I'll just show a little bit of the process of how it all happened. I quickly burned the posts, buried them in the ground, made a certain frame so the posts would hold together and not wobble, threw in 2 logs, something like beams, made rafters, tied them together with 3 boards and threw them on top. With slab wood, the roof was ready. It's a wonderful gazebo where we now cook food and make different dishes. Besides all this construction and building, we spent a lot of time working in the garden, mowing hay and taking care of our animals, which also takes a lot of time, but you can't really include that in this video. You can see all of this on our channel, and in addition to all of this, I wanted to share something else with you. We bought a plot of land in the forest that we had dreamed about for many years. This is a place where we also put in a lot of effort. We are planning to sell all of this and move to a new plot, to new land. So you can contact us if anyone is interested in everything that I have shown you so far. Actually, all of our property will be sold for less than what we invested in it. Now we are planning to move to a new place, to our dream, which we couldn't afford before, but now we've bought a great plot in the forest and we're going to build a new estate. If anyone is interested, be sure to write to us. We'll leave all the contacts in the description. Thank you all so much for watching and we'll see you next time. Bye!